Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Pretty recently, Kase, the company that makes filters, they reached out to me and asked if I would like to review some of their filters. So obviously I said yes, because I've heard really good things about them, and they sent them my way. Now, I didn't pay for these, they actually sent them out to me free of charge, but that's not going to change the review. I'm going to be 100% dead honest with these. If I don't like them, I'll tell you. If I do like them, I'll tell you. So I know I've heard really good things about Kase, but without further ado, let's get started. So we'll just start off with a really quick unboxing, and then I'll take each of the filters that they've sent me and we'll take photos with the filters and just do before and after comparisons and things like that. And we'll see how good these are. All right, so this is the box that my filters came in. Beautiful photo by Nigel Danson on the front there. And we'll just have a quick look around the box. These are the KW Revolution filters. And somewhere on here, there we go, it just says what we get in the package here. So yours may be different, it depends on the package you buy. This is the 67mm size, which is, you'll see in a second, there's an adapter and everything to fit it on our lens. But in this package, we have one circular polarizer, one graduated ND filter, one ND1000 filter, so it's a 10-stop ND filter, a filter bag, a lens cap, a magnetic adapter ring, magnetic inlaid ring, and a 3D tool. So let's open this up, have a look inside. Really nice packaging, by the way. So you're greeted with this little box inside here. Probably open that first. And in here, really nice pouch. And you can also, it looks like you can clip this to a strap or a belt or something like that. It's also got a hook on it too. Let's open this up, have a quick look. These are all still packaged up because I haven't used them yet, but these will be the filters. So I think this one here is just basically like a lens cap. I'll take them out of the pack in a minute so you can see those. That'll be one filter, that'll be another, and yeah, there's 3 filters in there and the cap. So you can see it has these plastic tabs here, and what we'll find in the box is some labels we can stick on those, but we'll get to that in a second. Then we'll get to this part. This is the accessories box. This here is a little instruction manual. Then the instructions for the filter. And this right here are the stickers. So you can use these to stick on those tabs we spoke about in here, and then you can find your filters really quickly. I haven't done that yet, as I said, I've just opened this, so let's have a look in the accessories box here. And I assume this is where the, just make sure that's everything. I assume this is where the actual attachment for the lens will go. So there's a little lens cloth. You can clean the filters with that, obviously, or your lens. This right here, that looks like the part that may screw onto the lens. Actually, no, this is the magnetic part, I believe. I'll work all this out in a moment once I actually fit it to the camera. That's probably the inlaid ring. Yep, so magnetic inlaid ring. And then this one here is the filter adapter ring there. So I assume that this is the one that will screw to the camera lens, and then this magnetic filter probably sits on top, and then maybe this goes on again. I'm not too sure yet, but we'll work that out in a second. Let's have a look at the filters now. So first filter here, we'll take that out of the paper bag. That is the ND1000, so it's the 10-stop ND filter. You can probably tell because it's quite dark. This next one here is the graduated ND filter, so I'm not sure if you can tell, but it is darker on the top section here, and it gets lighter as it goes down, so that's perfect. And this one here is the circular polarizer. Now the actual filter here doesn't spin like normal circular polarizers. I imagine that once it's stuck to the front of your lens magnetically, that when you turn it, that's how it works basically. So that's that one. And lastly, we have what I believe is just like a lens cap. So this can just stick onto the front of your lens magnetically instead of using your actual lens cap. So that's pretty cool. Now let's see how these attach to the camera, and then we can get out there and start shooting. The first thing we're going to want to do is put on this right here. This is the actual adapter ring, and this is for the size of my lens. Obviously, when you buy these, you buy them in a certain size for whatever you need for your lens. You can buy a few of these if you have different lenses that are different sizes. But luckily for me, I've got 3 Tamron lenses, and they're all 67mm. So yeah, basically start by screwing this on to your lens thread. Now there is a tool to assist you doing this, and I'll show you that in a second. It's hard to find the groove on these. Once you find it, it goes on pretty easily, just like that. That's not to do anything to do with these filters, it's just in any filter in general. The amount of times I've dropped filters because the thread doesn't line up is a lot. But you have this kind of tool here, and then what you can do is put this inlaid ring. I don't know if I'll ever use this, but you can put this inlaid ring over the top, And there are some little notches in this inlaid ring that line up with the notches on this tool here. So as you push the tool in and turn it, it will drop in once it finds the slot just there, and then you can tighten the filter using this. So now that's really tight, but you can also loosen the filter using that too. I don't know how that works because it's not actually, it's just magnetic, but it just must be enough friction that it grabs the filter from the back and takes it off, which is handy. The amount of times I've had stacked filters and just they won't come off, or one of them comes off and the other one doesn't, and things like that. There you go, so you can unscrew it. Anyway, let's just tighten it up just a little bit. So I can take these off now. As I said, I probably won't really, I'll keep them in the bag, but I'll probably just, they're easy enough to unscrew by hand usually, just like that. But it is good that you get the tool just in case they get stuck. So what I have here now is the circular polarizer, and again, this should just magnetically stick to the front, and then you can turn it just like that, just to adjust what's exactly being polarized. And it's the same with the other filters, the 10-stop filter and the graduated ND filter. Obviously with the graduated filter, you want the darker part at the top of your lens, so you can rotate that as you wish. But that's about it for the unboxing and how it attaches to the camera. It's really easy. So let's get back out there. I'll show you how they work, and we'll do some image comparisons with and without the filters and things like that. So I'll see you out there. So here we are, I've got a composition dialed in and the camera's pretty low, so forgive me if I'm bending down, and forgive me if it's really loud. The waves are just crashing, it's really loud here. So this is the ND1000, which is the 10-stop filter, and I want to see what this looks like. Basically what I'm going to do is take a photo using the filter. Obviously that's going to be a longer shutter speed, and then take a normal image with the filter off, and just compare them in terms of what the colors look like, if there's any casting or anything like that. So I'll pop the filter on and I'll get that image first. And I'm going to tell you my settings at the moment. It's 4-second shutter speed with the filter on, and that's at f11 and ISO 100. So I've got my focus all dialed in. So I'm trying to time it so the waves are coming in as the shutter's released. And we've got a 4-second shutter speed. So hopefully this looks good. Maybe do another one. Beautiful. The water's actually starting to come in. Pretty close actually. But what I'm going to do, once I'm happy with the photo using the filter, I'm going to take the filter off and take a normal image where we can compare colors and things like that. I've had really cheap filters in the past that have just created a major color cast in my images, like a sepia or brown, and it just doesn't look good. I'm fairly certain these are going to be good. Just looking at the back of my camera screen, the colors look really nice. So yeah, again, I'll take the filter off, I'll take a normal photo, and then I'll do a voiceover where I'm actually looking at them on the computer, because I don't have time to kind of analyze the colors on the back of a camera screen. So I'll do that on my computer, and that's what you'll see next. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and as promised, I want to show you these images side by side. So I took a couple. This one is obviously the long exposure, so ISO 100, shot that at 44mm, f11, and this was a 4-second shutter speed using that 10-stop ND filter. I don't usually like really long shutter speeds with beach kind of things. You just get this foamy look. In this case, this image has actually come out okay, but I don't really like when the water just looks like white foam. But in any case, it looks really nice. This is the original image just here. So basically, I just took the filter off and adjusted the shutter speed. As you can see, 1/160th. I adjusted the shutter speed to bring the exposure back down. So we'll look at these side by side really quickly. So just drag this one up here. So this one here, obviously without the ND filter, faster shutter speed. This one here on the right with the 10-stop ND filter and a slower shutter speed. Now, obviously I didn't nail the exposure when I took the filter off. I just quickly adjusted the shutter speed to get it somewhat in the ballpark. So there may be some slight exposure differences, but in terms of color, I think it looks really, really nice. There's no color casting I can see or anything like that. The only thing I notice is that there's kind of like this weird vignetting that it's only in the top left here. This is even after lens corrections. All I've done with both of these images, by the way, is just some quick adjustments to the exposure, highlights, shadows, and things like that. I haven't done anything else, and lens corrections. That's all I've done. But you can see this weird vignetting in the top left corner. That's obviously not caused by the filter because it's on the original as well. The filter has accentuated that, obviously, because it's tinted the lens. But all in all, in terms of color, quality, sharpness, all that kind of stuff, I'm really, really happy with them. I can't see any color casting. They're just as sharp as without the ND filter. So yeah, very happy. I'll put up another couple here. These are some I took later in the day just from a different angle. Basically the same thing I did with the last ones, and again, really happy. There's no as you can see here, actually the vignetting on that corner isn't as obvious, so I wonder if there was something there causing that to happen. Maybe there was a bit of a sun flare or something, because I can't really tell. I can't really see that on this one here. But nonetheless, that's the one with the 10-stop filter. This is the one without. And yeah, once again, colors look really nice. Sharpness, everything. I'm really happy with them. So yeah, let's now give the graduated ND filter a try, and we'll do the same thing with that. Alright, so this next filter I'm going to demonstrate is the graduated ND filter. For those who don't know, it's basically an ND filter, but it graduates from darker to lighter. So the top of the filter will be darker and it will gradually get lighter. Now what this is really good for is if you have a really bright sky, it's good for bringing down the exposure of the sky, but still being able to capture the foreground. Now, I don't use these that often. My camera has pretty good dynamic range where I can usually just expose for the brightest thing in the image, which is usually the sky, and then I can bring everything else in post. But these are definitely handy to avoid doing that, especially on older cameras or cameras that don't have the dynamic range of cameras like this. So what I love about this filter, all the filters in general, they're really nice quality, they've got a nice weight to them, and they just snap on easily. So like I said before, you're not fiddling around with trying to screw filters onto your lens and dropping them and things like that. Another thing I love about this particular filter here, there's some marks that show you where the top of the gradient starts, because obviously if you put this on its side, your image is going to go from dark to bright on the side, and there's nothing wrong with doing that if that's what you want to do, but they're made for really blocking out the sky, or not completely blocking out the sky, but taking the exposure down on the sky. Now this one here is a 0.9, which means it's probably 0.9 of a stop is how much darker it is basically. So let's pop this on now, and I can line that up with the middle, so it should be level with my horizon. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're using one of these is you'll have to set the tilt of your camera to make sure that you're not tinting any of the foreground if you don't want to do that. One advantage of square filters, I guess, over round filters is that you'd be able to move the square filter up or down to meet your horizon rather than having to move your camera. So let's give this a go. I'm just going to move my camera around a little bit. Somewhere there. That looks like a decent exposure. I'll just set my focus. I'm not really taking a photo of anything, it's just the beach, the sand, the water, and I'm trying to get the sky to obviously darken a little bit by using this filter. So we'll take this shot now. All right, so that's that one there. You can see it's darkened the sky really nicely, and without changing any settings, I'm just going to take the filter off and take an image. So you'll see the sky in this second image here is a lot brighter. So yeah, definitely handy if your camera doesn't have the dynamic range to be able to expose for the highlights, but that's that one. All right, so we just use those graduated ND filters, and let's have a look at the difference. So this right here is just a without the filter. These are my settings. It is slightly overexposed, but I wanted to keep the settings exactly the same just so you could see how much light the graduated filter takes out of the exposure. So this was at f8, 1/200th of a second, and ISO 100. And then this one here you're about to see is with the filter. So that's with the graduated ND filter. You can see it's darker at the top, and it slowly comes back to basically no ND filter towards the bottom. So it is graduated, it's a gradient, and same settings as you can see. So I'll put them side by side just really quickly. And there you go. So you can, like I said, it's not a great photo, not a perfect exposure. They both need to come down a little bit. They're a bit overexposed, but you can see how it's really rescued the sky. On some cameras, you just wouldn't be able to get that back. Cameras that just don't have the dynamic range. Whereas on my camera, I'll just show you quickly. The dynamic range is pretty good. So if I was to grab this one with the sky that is overexposed, I could try and pull the highlights down, or even just the exposure down in general. And even if I wanted to, I could just do a mask on just the sky and pull that down. And you can see there, it's there's a lot of dynamic range in this camera. So I don't particularly use graduated ND filters a whole lot, but they definitely are handy if you've got a nuclear sky, especially if you're shooting, you know, something really sunlit. It definitely helps to just help tint that sky, darken that a little bit. And like I said, especially on older cameras or cameras that don't have crazy dynamic range, it is going to help you with rescuing some of those skies and things like that. Now just keep in mind that being that these filters are circular, you will have to pan your camera up and down to blend the gradient part of the filter so it's in the sky and it's not covering too much of the foreground. Luckily it's graduated, so it's a really soft effect from how dark it goes to how light it goes, so that's really good. Whereas with square filters, you're able to move them up and down to meet your horizon. Another thing to keep in mind when using graduated ND filters like this, obviously if there was a building here or something, then and we use one, we're going to be tinting the sky, but we're also going to be tinting anything that's sticking above the horizon or anything that's on that line where it starts to graduate to be a bit darker. So just keep that in mind as well. And yeah, that's that one. So what we'll do now is move on to the circular polarizer. I'll show you me using that and how I'm going to use it, and then we'll come back once again to Lightroom and I'll show you before and afters. All right, so now we're going to be testing out the circular polarizer. And what I'm going to do, just like last time, take a photo with and without it. It's not going to work too crazy here because we're kind of shooting across the water. I find with circular polarizers it works better on like flatter planes. So if we're shooting directly down into the water, it would probably look better, but there's nothing really in the water that looks good. So a few reasons you'd use a circular polarizer is it's mainly to remove reflections. So you can use it to remove reflections off windows, or if you're taking photos of cars, it'll help to reduce a bit of the glare and reflections in the glass and the body paint. It's good for landscapes, so it can just help to remove a lot of glare in the sky and things like that as well. But this one, we're just gonna be shooting a boat across some water. So I'll just take one without the filter first and then with the filter, and then we'll do a little comparison like we have done for the others. We're losing light quickly, so I'm trying to be quick because the sun's setting. Right, that's that one there. And then we'll take one with the filter on. Like I said, not expecting a huge difference because we are shooting across the water, but it should help to remove a lot of the just really bright highlights that you get on the tops of the ripples of the waves. So yeah, that's that one there. We'll chuck these in Lightroom and we'll see what they both look like, and basically just compare with and without the filter, and I'll let you know my thoughts on the filter. All right, so let's give these ones a really quick comparison. And this one here, it's on my screen right now, is without the filter. Obviously what I did, I took the filter off and I had to adjust my exposure a little bit because most circular polarizers will darken the image a little bit or darken the exposure a little bit. So this is without the filter. As you can see, there's quite a lot of glare on the water. There's a lot of just really kind of bright highlights. And this is with the filter. You can see it's dulled down those highlights quite a lot, and it's just gotten a lot more texture and detail out of the water. Now this wasn't the perfect case scenario because we're shooting across the water and it depends where the light's coming from. It definitely wasn't the best case scenario, but I will put up some examples. Well, I will have put up some examples already of using this filter in some different scenarios, like removing glare from glass and things like that. But let's just do a little comparison quickly side by side. So yeah, this one on the right here is using, without the filter. As you can see, it's very glary. The exposure is very similar. If you look at the foliage and trees and sky, it's quite a similar exposure. It's just that the water and the one on the right is a lot brighter. It's a lot more distracting. This one on the left, as I said before, there's just a lot more detail and texture in the water. You just see a lot more of the blues, and yeah, it's just not as bright and distracting. So once again, I'm very happy with this filter. Let's now sum up the review and I'll let you know my final thoughts. All right, so I hope you enjoyed some of those little comparisons, and I'd like to also apologize for some of the audio throughout this video. The places we've gone to have been really loud, including now it's raining on a metal roof, so it doesn't help. Anyway, let's talk about these filters. Overall, I'm extremely happy with them and I'd highly recommend them. I love the case that they come in. You can tell they're really high quality optics, and they've just got a really nice weight to them. The way they snap on the lens is absolutely beautiful. I love the fact that I don't have to screw each filter on individually like the ones that I've been currently using. I've dropped them that many times because I don't know if it's just the Tamron lens or the filters, but it must be the lens because it does it with all the filters I've tried. It's just really hard to find the groove to get the thread started. So I've dropped the filters a few times in mud and sand, and it's really hard to clean when you're out somewhere shooting. So I love the fact that you screw that thing on your lens, the actual adapter, before you even head out. And then all you gotta do is grab your filter out of your bag, snap it on. It's very quick to change filters. And yeah, as I said, they're just really, really high quality filters. As you saw throughout all those comparisons, all the colors were beautiful, they were sharp. You could hardly tell, well, pretty much I couldn't tell the difference whether I shot with a filter on or off in terms of color, sharpness, and all those types of things. So I'd say the pros for these are, I love the case they come in. They're extremely high quality, they're durable, the optics are top notch, and yeah, you can tell they're really going for quality when it comes to these. The only con I have is that they're quite pricey, but as you know, anything in photography that's quality, especially lenses and filters, they are quite pricey. So in regards to that, it's not really a con, it's just if you want the best filters, you just have to pay the money for them. Now, I'm not saying these are the best, I haven't used every single filter on the market, but they're probably the best that I've ever used, and I don't really want to yap on about brands that I've used before. but these probably will replace the current ones I'm using. The only downside to these that I should have mentioned as well, if you buy the starter kit, which is what this is an entry kit, you get those, well, I got those 3 filters and then the other parts that'll help you adapt it to the lens. This pouch here is quite bulky if you're only using the 3 filters, but if you had, you know, quite a few filters, 5, 6 or 7, then this case is definitely good. But having this in my bag just for 3 filters, it takes up quite a bit of room. Whereas the current filters I have, they're just little discs that you unscrew and then you take the filter out. So they don't take that much room. But like I said, if you had a whole bunch of filters, then this pouch is awesome. And you don't even need to keep them in the pouch. You can keep them in the little bags they came in. But yeah, overall, I think they're fantastic filters. I'd highly recommend them. If you've got the budget to get some really good filters and not have to worry about buying other ones to try them out and things like that, then I'd definitely recommend these filters here. Now, as I said, this is the KF Revolution, I believe they were called. That's this series of filters. And one thing I really liked about Kase, when they approached me to do this review, they told me we just want a video that's honest and just share the pros and cons and any improvements that you'd like to see with the filters. There's not really any improvements I'd like to see. I think they've done a fantastic job of creating these filters, and once again, I'd highly recommend them. I don't want to yammer on and on and on. I'll definitely recommend them. And even though they'll send to me for free, if I was to try these before buying them, I'd end up buying them anyway. So very, very happy with these. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one, and thank you very much for watching.